All right, what's going on? Happy Monday. Good morning to all of you. Farzin Vasugian here with you for another edition of the Chiefs Zone podcast, and we've got some breaking news to discuss today. Appreciate you guys taking the time to be part of the podcast. Appreciate all of you who are downloading, listening to the podcast through Apple, Spotify, anywhere where you can download and listen to a podcast. For those of you who are tuning in the morning here, at least morning Central Time, appreciate you guys as well. We usually do not do a podcast on a morning, but of course, the news cycle has other plans, so we got to get into it, got to discuss it. So appreciate you guys being with me today. I want to let you know this podcast is brought to you by SeatGeek. SeatGeek is the place where I go to for all of my sports ticketing needs, and I'll tell you right now, football season coming up 10 days away from kickoff. Chiefs-Ravens AFC Championship rematch in 10 days. I'm excited for that. If you guys want to go to that game, want to go to any other football game or even non-football games, concerts, other sporting events, go to SeatGeek. And if you're a new customer, enter my promo code Farzin and you will save $20 off your first purchase from SeatGeek. Go to SeatGeek.com. New customers at checkout can enter the promo code Farzin and you will save $20 off your first purchase from SeatGeek. All right, let's waste little time. Let's get right into it. I don't want to spend too much time talking about other things, and I want to keep this as short as possible because we're going to do another podcast tomorrow evening recapping the 53-man roster. Of course, that's going to be a pretty big and busy show. It's going to get pretty interesting with the wide receiver room. So there are a lot of things to get into here, but let's get right into it. So the breaking news this morning, the Kansas City Chiefs have signed and have brought back JuJu Smith-Schuster for a second stint in Kansas City. There are some mixed reactions with this one because when I posted that the Patriots released JuJu Smith-Schuster, I brought it up. I said, do you guys think JuJu Smith-Schuster will come back to Kansas City? A lot of you guys laughed about it. Well, why the hell would we want him back? Well, I think there's definitely some positives from this. Let me just say something about JuJu Smith-Schuster. Is it concerning that he was let go by a team that is expected to be really bad this year? Yes. But is he coming to Kansas City to be the number one wide receiver for this offense? No. The Chiefs have Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy who are going to handle those duties, and Hollywood Brown when he comes back. JuJu Smith-Schuster is coming to Kansas City to provide depth on an offense that he's already familiar with. He knows what the expectations are. He knows what Patrick Mahomes wants out of him. So this is not a situation where JuJu is expected to come in and become a 1,000-yard elite receiver or anything like that. He is coming in here to provide depth for a team that wants to have as many weapons possible, because here's what this does. This lifts the load off a lot of people's shoulders. Lifts the load off Rashee Rice's shoulder, off of Xavier Worthy's shoulders. Same for Hollywood Brown when he comes back, and that'll alleviate things on offense even more for these guys, because there's a little bit of pressure on these guys to do well without him for a short period of time. Oh, by the way, you have the best tight end in NFL history. This is definitely great news for Travis Kelce. And I've said this many times in the past too. You cannot stack the box anymore with this Chiefs team, or against this Chiefs team. You could do it last year when the wide receivers were bad. It was easy to do last year when they were bad. Can't do it this year, though. You can't. Because what are you going to do? You're going to stack the box? Okay. Mahomes is going to have no issues pulling out of the running play, and whoever you put one-on-one against, Worthy, Rice, Hollywood, Kelce, good luck with that. This is an offense that is really built to succeed here. Now, if there are any injuries going around, which unfortunately we've had a little bit of that so far, then yeah, JuJu will have to come in and he'll have to be that guy. Hopefully he doesn't get to that point though. But when you look at this wide receiver room right now, where it was a year ago, where it was 6 months ago, this is by far a much better wide receiver room. What are the reasons that this Chiefs team won't improve offensively? Why are the wide receivers not going to be better? I've heard a lot of people like kind of, I shouldn't say a lot of people, but there are some people outside of Kansas City that are hopeful that the offense is going to be the same, and that's all wishful thinking. This is not a Chiefs offense that is going to look anything like last year. Oh, by the way, that team still won the Super Bowl. So if that team can win the Super Bowl, leading the NFL in dropped passes, having the most penalized offensive player, having the most penalized defensive player, what in the hell is going to happen this year when they have receivers that can catch the ball, when they have receivers that actually have high and elite speed? Who's stopping this offense? My heart goes out to all of the defensive coordinators that have to prepare for this Chiefs team. Listen, coaches already spend countless hours preparing for opposing teams. Defensive coordinators, they have to spend a lot of time, understanding what routes certain receivers run, certain situations, how the quarterback does certain things in certain situations, all of that stuff. If you're a defensive coordinator and you have the week to prepare for the Kansas City Chiefs, you are going to be spending countless hours preparing for this Chiefs team. There's no way about it. Defensive coordinators are going to lose sleep over this offense. They're going to have bags under their eyes because there's not going to be any time to sleep, because all they're going to be doing night and day is preparing for how to stop this Chiefs offense. And listen, the Chiefs are not going to go undefeated. I know there are some people that think that's a possibility. They're just way too much. It's a long season. The Chiefs are going to drop a game or two that they shouldn't drop. It's going to happen. But in general, this is an offense that is going to be good. Let me read you the wide receivers on this team right now, okay? In fact, let's do a fun little exercise here. Who are going to, because I think if you're going to add JuJu, I think you're going to have 7 wide receivers. I've seen a lot of speculation out there before today that the Chiefs are going to have 6 wide receivers. I think that number goes up to 7, because I don't think you're bringing back McCole Hardman and JuJu Smith-Schuster to just let them go or put them on the practice squad. In fact, I don't think they're practice squad eligible. And I'm not here to really get into the practice squad eligible stuff because I don't really know the details of that whole thing. But no one's going on the practice squad of those 2 names I mentioned here. They're just not. When you look at what you have with this offense, when it comes to specifically wide receivers, there are some interesting decisions to be made. So here are the 3 wide receivers I think we can all unanimously agree they're making the team. Hollywood Brown, unless his injury is more of a concern than maybe we realize, but I don't think that's the case. So Hollywood Brown, Rashee Rice, and Xavier Worthy. Those are your 3 wide receivers going into week 1. Hollywood's going to be inactive for 1, maybe 2, possibly 3 games. That's it. Not going to be anything more than that from the way things sound. Who's behind those 3? I think Justin Watson is going to be your number 4 guy. I think JuJu, bringing him back, I mean, you're not bringing him back to cut him in 24 hours. Sure as hell not going to be the case. And I think McCole Hardman, I don't think the Chiefs have any interest in parting ways with McCole Hardman. So that's 6 wide receivers I just gave you. Who are the other 4? I mean, who do you have left? You have Sky Moore left. You have Kadarius Toney, Justin Ross, Nico Remigio, and Cornell Powell. Cornell Powell had kind of a good preseason for the Chiefs this year. So what's going to happen? Who is the odd man out of that mix there? In fact, you have 4 odd men out. I don't think Sky Moore is making this team. Look, if you guys have been following me a long time, and a lot of you guys have, you guys know that I am very, very, very patient with certain players and their progress. I'd like to think I'm one of the more patient Chiefs fans and just one of the more patient sports fans out there with these kinds of things. Maybe to a fault, but neither here nor there. I just don't know at this point what value does Sky Moore bring to your football team. So I think Sky Moore is done. I don't know, again, practice squad eligibility. I'm not here to discuss that stuff. I just want to talk about the 53. Who's the other guy? Kadarius Toney. He's had moments, some very, very good moments. The touchdown catch where he was adjusting his glove while running the route and in midair, the punt return in the Super Bowl, part of the corn dog touchdown plays. Oh, Farzine, anyone could have cut that. Yeah, but you still got to do your job at the end of the day in that situation. When you see a speedster like Kadarius Toney running around, the cornerbacks are going to always bite that. So KT was built to be able to do that kind of thing. But then you've had some really bad moments. The Detroit Lions game, ball going off your hand for a pick six late in the game with a chance to win the game, getting in the field goal range, you drop a pass there. In the Patriots game, ball off the hands for a pick. Very reminiscent of the one against Detroit. In fact, that was the last time we saw him play, was in that Patriots game in Foxborough. The game against Buffalo, where he was offside, nullifying his own touchdown on a really sweet lateral from Travis Kelce. So you have had some really good moments with Kadarius Toney and some really bad moments with him. And I think, when a guy has a skill set like Kadarius Toney, you just can't give up on a guy like that. But he's cost you games at the end of the day. So is this someone that's worth keeping around? Plus, there's some off the field weird stuff like his social media behavior. And I don't know, man. I don't know. So I don't know if Kadarius Toney's sticking around anymore. So who are the three candidates left? Cornell Powell, Nico Remigio, and Justin Ross. Let me just say this. Cornell Powell worked his ass off in the preseason, did well. Can't do much more than that, but I think he's going to be a practice squad guy again. I do. That leaves Nico Remigio and Justin Ross. Nico Remigio has been getting a lot of praise from a lot of the coaches this offseason. Andy Reid, Matt Nagy, Dave Tobe, everyone loves Nico Remigio. I mean, this is a guy that if he's going to make the team, he's going to have a good preseason on offense, but he's going to have to do some things on special teams as well. And he did that. And he indeed did do all of that. Justin Ross, he's had moments in the preseason. This is a guy that, could have been a first-round draft pick, but injuries set him back. Obviously got in a little bit of trouble off the field. We still don't know all the details, but neither here nor there. He's already suffered the consequences for it. Is this the guy that you keep around? Because if you put Justin Ross on your practice squad, or at least if you're going to attempt to put him on your practice squad, good luck with that. He's not coming back. If you cut Justin Ross, he's done. He's not coming back. Someone's going to claim him off waivers. 100%. Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney, I can see them clearing waivers. I could maybe see a team take a chance at Toney. But I think if Justin Ross becomes available, you're going to have the 31 other NFL teams be more than interested to see if that guy could maybe be at the very least a depth player for your offense. So what do you do in this situation? Because if you keep Justin Ross, then you keep him. Nico Remigio, there's maybe a 50-50 chance he gets claimed off waivers and he could just come right back to your practice squad. I don't think the Chiefs are going to have any interest in bringing back Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney. And I could be wrong. Look, and while we're saying all of this, there's maybe a chance that the Chiefs might actually part ways with Justin Watson or McCole Hardman. I'm not dismissing the possibility of that. I would say there's a slim chance of that. I don't think it's very likely, but I think the Chiefs might consider one of those moves. It's not going to be a very easy cut. I don't think it's ever easy. Listen, if you have a terrible preseason and a terrible training camp, then you have to make some really tough decisions like, okay, who was the best of the worst here? That's never an easy thing. But when you have a situation like the Chiefs have, and we've seen it, the past couple of years where the Chiefs have had a very difficult time trying to keep everybody. We saw it with Tyreek Hill. We saw it with L'Jarius Sneed recently. You can't keep everybody. Kind of the same thing right here. You cannot keep all of these players. Do I think Sky Moore has potential? Yes. Do I think Kadarius Toney has potential? Yes. Justin Ross, Cornell Powell? Yes. But at the end of the day, I mean, unless you want to run an offense with no tight ends outside of Travis Kelce, then you're going to be having a lot of wide receivers, and that's just not the way you can operate on offense. You just can't. I'm very, very eager to see what happens within the next 28 hours. Chiefs have some very interesting decisions to make with the wide receiver. My 7, and I think it's going to be 7, are Hollywood, unless, and I said this earlier, I'll say it again, unless there is some update out there that we do not know about, that the Hollywood injury is more significant than what we were told initially. So far, we have not had any reports of that from anyone in the media, and I think if that was the case, maybe that would have been out there by now. I know a lot of people are saying, well, what about the Rashee Rice suspension that's kind of looming over his head right now? It's a good question, but I'll say what I've been saying all offseason long. Roger Goodell did say at the NFL draft that he is going to let the legal process play out. So if you want a little bit of an update on the legal process, and I'm not an attorney, but a little bit of Google. For those who don't know, Google is this magical website where you can get some questions answered. Rashee Rice's court date is not until December, and that's not even going to be the final court date. He's going to have another one sometime in 2025. And I don't know exactly when, but it's very likely going to be after the Super Bowl. So that kind of situation right there, with Roger Goodell saying he's going to let the legal matter play out, and he's done that in the past with certain players, such as Alvin Kamara, very similar protocol, in fact, to Alvin Kamara's matter. Rashee Rice is not getting suspended this year. I would be very surprised if we got that announcement within the next 10 days. I'd be very surprised. So I don't think that's happening. So you're going into week 1 with Hollywood, who's going to be inactive, and you're going to have Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, JuJu Smith-Schuster as some of your key receivers. Justin Watson, McCole Hardman going to be right behind them. Think about the list of players on here. You've got Hollywood, and that's going to be huge when he comes back. You have Xavier Worthy, who is fast. You have Rashee Rice, who isn't necessarily known for his speed on the field, but man, that guy can make a 1-2 step and absolutely throw off a defensive back. That guy's very good at creating separation, and that's why he was drafted and probably should have been a first-round pick. You look at Justin Watson. I've always said he's a very good depth player. Even though he was guilty of some drops last year, he actually was one of the more productive receivers last year. But I think he's much more better in that depth role than being one of the 2 starters on the on offense. You have McCole Hardman. Yeah, he's had some issues, but man, whenever he does it right, it's a very good thing for your offense. His speed can absolutely destroy a defense. Those are your main guys. And then you bring in JuJu, who has speed, who knows the offense, who's come through for you. He had 930 yards when he played for the Chiefs, 933 yards. And that was, by the way, the year, you traded Tyreek Hill and JuJu joined the team right before the Tyreek trade. So he probably knew about it before it was public. That was also the same year you had Marquez Valdes-Scantling. Valdes-Scantling didn't have the drop issues in 2022 like he did in 2023. I mean, those were your top 2 receivers that year. That's also the same year you went and got Kadarius Toney. So there are going to be some very difficult decisions that are going to be made with this wide receiver cut within the next 28 hours. By the way, this is worth noting. Sports Radio 810's Jason Anderson, he's on the air right now, but he mentioned early on in the show that he actually got word that the Chiefs wanted, or specifically Matt Nagy, the offensive coordinator for the Chiefs, wanted JuJu Smith-Schuster. And he couldn't get a second source to verify it, but he's basically, reporting that Matt Nagy was the driving force in bringing JuJu Smith-Schuster back to Kansas City. He had very strong interest from the moment that JuJu was let go by the Patriots. What does that tell you? Because Matt Nagy was the quarterback's coach. Keep that in mind. He was a QB coach the only year JuJu was in Kansas City. So that means that the QB coach, the year Patrick Mahomes had his MVP season, he liked throwing the JuJu. That was his main guy at the wide receiver position, and he wanted to bring him back. And it's not likely going to be for the number one spot on this offense. It's going to be more for depth purposes. And that is going to be a very good thing for this Chiefs team. Again, think of your offense, who you have right now across the board. You have Hollywood Brown when he comes back, Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, JuJu Smith-Schuster, McCole Hardman has some speed, Justin Watson has some speed, and those guys are part of your depth. You have Travis Kelce, who's the best tight end in NFL history. You have Isaiah Pacheco, who's a hard-nosed, tough runner and has the speed. Who's stopping this offense? What defense is going to dominate this team? If you're Patrick Mahomes, you look to your right and you have Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy. Oh, they're covered? No problem. Look to your left. Got Travis Kelce and JuJu Smith-Schuster. If they're both covered, well, then who do you have coming out of the backfield? Probably Isaiah Pacheco, maybe Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So this is a very good situation for the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes has to be loving life right now. This is an offense that led the NFL in drops last year and, spoiler alert, still won the Super Bowl. So if you can win the Super Bowl with that unit last year at the wide receiver position, think about what they're going to do this year with this wide receiver group. Standout players across the board. The Chiefs are out there getting wide receivers for Chiefs. They got Hollywood Brown on a great deal. They got JuJu Smith-Schuster on a really good deal. And for whatever crazy reason, the rest of the NFL allowed Xavier Worthy to drop to Kansas City. And of all teams to make that trade was freaking Buffalo of all teams. Buffalo of all teams. Which I can't comprehend, but neither here nor there. So good luck. Good luck if you're a defense that wants to stop this Chiefs team. Yeah, I think they're going to have a couple bad games. It happens. But man, 99 times out of 100, this Chiefs team is going to look really good, especially on offense. This is the situation. Corey has a really good comment here from the YouTube channel. He says, JuJu being a depth piece and not needing to lean on Kadarius Toney or Sky Moore is huge. 100% it's huge. Because look, as much as I would love to give Kadarius Toney another shot, it's just a liability at this point. It's a concern. You can't, with full on confidence. How much do you guys trust Kadarius Toney? Yeah, his potential is fun to talk about, but potential is not reality. So, who'd you rather go with, JuJu or Kadarius Toney or Sky Moore? I think the answer is pretty obvious here. We have a lot of questions. And we're not going to get that answer until in about 28 hours, maybe sooner than that. We've already had a couple of reports here. We know Ian Book has been let go, the quarterback of the Chiefs. And we also have Kyle Sheets, who has been let go, the wide receiver that was trying out for the Chiefs. Listen, I think the defense takes a little bit of a step back. It's not going to be anything noticeable in the grand scheme of things, but the offense is making big improvements this year. And today only made the Chiefs offense better. I know there are concerns about JuJu and his health, but if he's like the number 4, number 5 receiver on your team, he's not going to be playing as much. So if you're not playing as much, the odds of you getting hurt do decrease. The odds of you staying healthy increase. So at the end of the day, all you did is just improve your offense. And I think this is a role that is much better and is more fitting for JuJu Smith-Schuster. Oh, and by the way, he's coming back to try to get himself another Super Bowl ring to help this Chiefs team three-peat. If you're a Chiefs fan, you got to be loving what's going on right now. They have turned this wide receiver room around in the span of one offseason. Brett Veach did this with the offensive line a couple of years ago following Super Bowl 55 and following a bad year offensively, specifically with the receivers. He's done the same exact thing, turned this wide receiver room around. Last point I'll make here. I don't think Andy Reid and Brett Veach would do this unless they really thought he was done. Like, Andy Reid and Brett Veach know what the hell they're doing. Do they get it right 100% of the time? Absolutely not. No, they don't. Every GM misses. Every head coach gets it wrong at times. But they don't get it wrong often. Not very often. So I am thrilled to see where this offense is going, specifically with the wide receiver room. Man, I need the next 10 days right now. Like, I need to see that Chiefs-Ravens game right now. I am eager to see what that offense is going to look like. I know you all feel the exact same way. So, ultimately, this is a Chiefs team that is moving forward and is going to be playing much better football this year. You're going to see it in week 1. And by the way, in that week 2 game against Cincinnati, what did Cincinnati do to improve defensively? Not much. Because there are a lot of people making a big deal about how the Chiefs have a tough schedule the first 2 games, and they do. They absolutely do. But with this improved offense, it's not as bad as it looks. Not one bit. Hey, I appreciate all of you guys joining me for this Monday morning edition of the Chiefs Zone podcast. We normally do not do Monday morning episodes. I do want to keep this short because I want to get this podcast out there for people to listen to in time before the 53-man roster cut. Tomorrow evening, we will have another podcast. We will be recapping the 53-man roster, 3 p.m. The roster cuts will be announced. The 53-man rosters will be out. We will have a lot of questions answered. We may still have some other questions that'll come up at that time as well. Keep in mind, the initial 53 could still change from then until kickoff. Not very common, but still can change. But we're going to have a lot of things to cover tomorrow. Also, not 100% yet, but tonight, on my social media, I am going to be making a very big announcement. I really, really, really hope you guys like it. I'd be surprised if you guys did not like it. If you guys don't like it, I would be very sad. I really would be. So please stay tuned for that. Hey, for all of you who are watching live on Facebook and YouTube, I need a huge favor from you guys. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you're watching on YouTube, you already know we are starting to put a lot of content out on the YouTube channel. I've had that for a year, but I've kind of been slow to get that going. We've got it going now. We've got a lot of things on there. Some comments. People are starting to subscribe to that. It's definitely grown in the last week, but we need it to continue to grow. So if you haven't done so already, you see it on the bottom of your screen. It says youtube.com/@thechiefszone. That is my YouTube channel. On the YouTube. That's where we do the podcast on there as well. So if you guys could subscribe to that as well, make sure you're watching the videos, give them a thumbs up, both on Facebook and on YouTube. It would be greatly appreciated. It really does go a long way, especially with the algorithm. And now that we've got football season coming back up, it would really help out a lot. So we could definitely use some subscribers on the YouTube side as well. Again, youtube.com/@the Chiefs Zone. That is the YouTube channel, or just search my name or just search the Chiefs Zone on YouTube, and it should be the first one that pops up. Okay, guys, appreciate you guys joining me for this episode of the Chiefs Zone podcast. My name is Farji Vasugian. I'm out. I'll talk to you all tomorrow.